Hello, baseball fans. You're watching On Deck with Tyler Redmond.
Welcome into On Deck. I'm Tyler Redmond. As always, thank you so much for checking out the channel. I do appreciate it. While you're here, do me a favor, like this video, subscribe to this channel, and hit the bell for notifications so that you can stay up to date with everything going on here at On Deck and, of course, with the Atlanta Braves. And today we're bringing up a topic that we've talked about a few times on the channel before, trading Marcell Ozuna. You guys have brought this up in live shows. I've thrown you a couple proposals before, and today we're once again talking about this. And if you're wondering, Tyler, why is this being brought up again? There was an article released last week by Christian Dart of the Tomahawk Take, and I really like this article, so I'm bringing it to you. It's titled Potential Bad Contract Swaps for Marcell Ozuna. It's a great concept. I love the ideas in it. We're going to talk about them here. We're going to go through them. And at the end, I'll not only tell you what I think, but I'll also add on here. We found out the other day that Atlanta attempted to trade Marcell Ozuna earlier in the season for Patrick Corbin of the Washington Nationals. Corbin, another notable bad contract, did not put up good numbers in 2022. A 6.31 ERA and a 6-19 record pretty much spells that out. But earlier in the season, we're all aware that the Braves were in much more need of starting pitching in any way they could get it than they were Marcell Ozuna. And I think that's fair. This was an attempt to swap bad contracts. And that's really where the article that I mentioned is rooted, is finding other bad contract swap ideas. Even though the Patrick Corbin idea didn't work, maybe one of these will. So there's four options. We're going to go through them, and I'm going to tell you what I think. The first one is Jose Berrios. Now, Jose Berrios is a guy that we actually discussed around the trade deadline of 2021, you know, the famous trade deadline, possibilities that the Braves could go out there and get. Jose Berrios was one of those guys. David O'Brien and Jim Bowden actually pitched that. The idea was a trade for Jose Berrios with the Braves trading Touki Toussaint and Johan Camargo. I think any of us would have taken that at the time. And look, I was all for it back then. Things have changed. Now, would I have taken it at the time? Certainly, I still would stand by that because he was a free agent. The best way to represent what I'm talking about, in 2021, the year where this trade was proposed, Berrios had a 3.58 ERA. I would have certainly traded Johan Camargo and Touki Toussaint at the time for Jose Berrios. Now, luckily for the Braves, it all worked out without this happening. But in 2022, Berrios has not been the same pitcher. He had a 5.23 ERA this year. Before this season, again, he was a free agent. He signed a 7-year contract with Toronto worth $131 million. So he still has right around $121 million left on the contract. It is backloaded. So what do I think? Do I think Atlanta should trade Marcell Ozuna for Jose Berrios? Yes or no? What do you think? Let me know down in the comment section. Personally, I'm a hard no here, and it's for a few reasons. Number one, it's way more money. The Braves currently owe Marcell Ozuna $32 million for the rest of his contract. This is almost $100 million less in total than Berrios is owed on his contract. Now, granted, it's only a 2 to 3 year difference on the year, on average, but the Braves are not going to want to get involved in a longer-lasting, higher-paying contract that doesn't really fix all the problems, at least on paper. It may turn out that Jose Berrios flips it around and has a great career with Toronto, but this doesn't seem to really fix anything. And I don't think Ozuna is necessarily going to turn the page for Toronto either. Also, internal solutions. Some would say that, you know, Jose Berrios coming to Atlanta gives you an obvious fifth starter. You know, last year that spot was held by Jake Odorizzi for the most part. And I think that as much as that makes sense, I also look internally. If you listen to what Alex Anthopoulos said at the tail end of the season, right at the beginning of the offseason for the Braves, there looks to remain somewhat of an internal conversation for a fifth starter, depending on the health of Mike Soroka. Now, granted, I think it's fair to assume that the Braves are also out there exploring outside options because of how unpredictable Soroka's recovery has been in years past. Also, I think they would be looking to improve the starting rotation, allowing Charlie Morton to take the fifth spot role that was held by Odorizzi in 2022. So I don't necessarily think that they're going to want to go outside for starting rotation. I think they might want to keep it internally. And if they do go outside, I think you're more so looking for a free agent signing. I don't think you're going to see a trade there. Also, I think Berrios brings a bigger problem than what Ozuna currently has. Hear me out. I know Ozuna comes with his challenges, certainly. On the field, off the field, I'm aware of it. But the financial challenge of taking on the Berrios contract far outweighs anything Ozuna can do, again, off the field or on the field. To me, it would put the Braves in a deeper hole financially for a longer amount of time without having any real positive impact based on what we saw in his first year with Toronto in 2022. Also, if I'm Toronto, and this is really where I think the trade for me comes to a hard no. If I'm Toronto, I'm not giving up on the guy who I signed for 7 years just yet. It's only been 1 year, certainly not a great year. Again, north of a 5 ERA, but he's got 6 more seasons to make it right. I think Toronto is going to ride this one out. I think they're going to try to make this work, and bringing in Marcell Ozuna, I don't think is enough to change that front office's mind on their decision to sign Jose Berrios long term. If it were me, I would say no, and that's if I'm Toronto. If I'm Atlanta, I say no. So I don't think this trade goes through. As much as I would like to improve the starting rotation, as much as I would like to unload Ozuna, I don't think this is the right one. So with that said, let's move to number 2, Brandon Crawford. Now this one to me seems pretty cut and dry. I don't think we have to go too far into this. It's financially similar to Ozuna. They're both owed around $16 million a year, though Crawford is a free agent in 2024 and Ozuna is a free agent in 2025. This is certainly more in the ballpark than Jose Berrios. And for the Braves, it could solve a potential shortstop situation pending that Swanson decides to leave. But from the Giants' perspective, I don't see it happening. Crawford is a career Giant for 16 years, and it's hard for me and the author of this article, mind you, to see this happening, to see Crawford go to another team, especially considering the leadership role that he took after Posey retired. I get that it's a possibility, but I don't see this happening in the slightest. So I'm saying no to number 2, Brandon Crawford as well. Number 3 is really where it starts getting interesting. Madison Bumgarner. Now, Mad Bum is one of those guys that always gets attention. Obviously, his career speaks for itself. The stats, the postseason heroics, the at-bats. I mean, he's an exciting player to watch, no doubt about it. But let's crunch the numbers. Mad Bum is on a 5-year deal worth $85 million. He still has 2 years on the contract, same as Ozuna, but he is owed $37 million, 5 more than Marcell. Now, he could, again, potentially fill that 5th spot that the Braves are looking for in their starting rotation, but if we're honest, we know that Mad Bum's best years are behind him. His career 3.42 ERA, it speaks for itself. But so does his 4.88 ERA in 2022. For perspective, for Braves fans, that's worse than Charlie Morton last year. It's worse than Jake Odorizzi last year in that stat. He did not win as many games as Charlie Morton last year. He only won 1 more than Jake Odorizzi, and he had a losing record, which both of those guys I just mentioned, Morton and Odorizzi, did not have losing records. And some of that is on his team, of course. He's on the Diamondbacks, who were pretty bad in 2021, and win-loss is what it is, but ERA is something to pay attention to. I also don't believe that the Diamondbacks are looking at Ozuna and saying, yeah, we'll take a shot at him. At least not in this scenario, not while trading Madison Bumgarner. I'm saying no to this one again, even though it really does intrigue me. But number 4 is my favorite one of the list. This one really does intrigue me. Javy Baez. And I'm going to tell you why it intrigues me. Financially speaking, these players could not be more different. Ozuna is a free agent in 2025. Baez is a free agent in 2028. Ozuna is owed $32 million. Baez is owed $120 million. And if you're looking at these players as a straight-up swap, it's not equal. It's not even close to equal. But it does intrigue me for a few reasons. It wasn't long ago that Baez was one of the biggest free agents in the market. He landed in Detroit. Detroit is a near-to-last-place team. But Baez has not put the expected numbers up, especially for the money he's making. But I can't help but wonder, what if he was brought to Atlanta? What if he was brought to the winning atmosphere that the Atlanta Braves have right now? Would it benefit Baez? It's worth thinking about. Personally speaking, I think it would. I think a player like that who thrives on high-energy moments would only benefit from a winning atmosphere. I can't help but think that. Now, we all know that his .238 average and 17 homers, it is not worth the money he's making. Absolutely not. But this could kill 2 birds with 1 stone for the Braves. It would take Ozuna out of the equation, which is what this video is about, but it could also replace Dansby Swanson in the same move. That's really what this scenario depends on. If Swanson goes back to Atlanta, Baez is out, but if he doesn't, this could potentially happen. And look, I think all scenarios for the Braves kind of revolve around Swanson. How much money is going to be available, that kind of thing. The Braves have to figure out if he is attainable or not. Swanson can re-sign at any time. He can do it today. He can do it tomorrow. But on Thursday, things get interesting because that's when free agents can sign to anywhere. And if Swanson goes to another team, Javy Baez could be on the brain. And I know everybody's talking about Turner. We talked about him the other day. Everybody's talking about Correa. Everybody's talking about Bogarts. All of those are options. But I think Baez could walk in and solve that problem while also getting rid or unloading Marcell Ozuna. He could at least be the given solution for the time being. I know everyone, again, is talking about those other free agents. I get it. Just, it's a long shot. I doubt this happens, but it's intriguing. That's the real key here. I also think it's important to realize that even though this video is about bad contract swaps, that's what I'm reviewing here, bad contract swaps are not the only way to unload Marcell Ozuna. It's certainly an option, and as entertaining as it is to talk about, the idea of Jose Berrios or Brandon Crawford, Madison Bumgarner, Javy Baez, as entertaining as it is to imagine those guys in a Braves uniform, it's not the only way to unload Marcell Ozuna. It's really not. And the Braves don't have to get themselves in another problem to solve this one. They can trade Marcell Ozuna for prospects, unload some of that salary, and look, they're not going to be the most highly touted prospects. They won't be. But it will take some of the money off the books. We'll call it $8 million off the books and unload Marcell Ozuna to another team. Give Alex Anthopoulos more control to do something else with. Maybe re-sign Dansby Swanson. Maybe attack the bullpen. Who knows? But I do believe that Marcell Ozuna's days in an Atlanta uniform are numbered, and I don't believe it'll be when he becomes a free agent in 2025. I think that the Braves are going to try to unload him at this point by any means necessary. The fact that they already tried to do it by trading for Patrick Corbin from the Nationals, I think speaks volumes. I think they've, not to say given up on Marcell Ozuna, but I think they've moved on. I don't think they look to him to be any kind of leader on the team. On the field or off. I think that at this point they want to move on from Marcell Ozuna. The only way to do that, in my opinion, is by trading for prospects. So we'll, of course, keep track of that. Hopefully you'll stay tuned for that. But if you'll do me a favor, let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Let me know what you think about any of the guys I mentioned earlier. Of course, Jose Berrios, Madison Bumgarner, Brandon Crawford, and Javy Baez. Let me know what you think about those trades and if any of those would work in your opinion. Let me know down below. I'd love to hear from you. And, of course, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and, of course, hit the bell for notifications so that you can keep track of everything that I got going on here at On Deck and, of course, everything the Atlanta Braves have going on as well. With that being said, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time right here at On Deck.
Baseball fans, make sure you like and share this video and subscribe to this channel. As always, thank you for your support.